All right, my friend, I am here in 2025 to help you navigate the most difficult and complicated entrance reservation system in the national parks. I'm talking about Glacier. It is pretty confusing, but today I want to walk you through everything you need to know about this reservation so that you can get what you need, so they don't turn you away when you get to the park, and so that you can explore all of the beauty of Glacier National Park. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes, and this is my 4th year of making this video. And every single year it's different. Something changes, something gets more complicated, something gets taken away. And so I'm really glad you're here because understanding how to get your entrance reservation for Glacier is crucial if you're hoping to visit the park this summer. So first, what is the entrance reservation? Why do you need one? Why do you even have to bother with this? And the reason is because Glacier has gotten so busy that they are trying to limit the number of cars that can come into the park for the parking spaces and just to address the overcrowding issues, basically. They change every year which part needs an entrance reservation and which part doesn't. And so I will walk you through that. But just so you know, there are certain areas of Glacier that you cannot enter if you don't have one of these. And so a lot of people get disappointed if they don't know about this. They get there, they can't get into the park. This is, addressing traffic and crowding in the busiest parts of the park. So it's probably where you're going to want to be. It's where you're going to want to do your hiking and your sightseeing. And so I'm going to help you get this reservation. So this reservation is actually in addition to your entrance fee, and a lot of people get confused by this. You need both. So you'll need the entrance reservation to get into the park, but you'll also need to pay an entrance fee as you go through the entrance stations in this park. So you'll need both. If you have a senior pass or an annual pass, like the America the Beautiful or anything like that, the access pass, those count for your entrance fee, but they do not count as your entrance reservation, which is what this video is about today. So I'm going to jump over to the official page on the Glacier website. And so I can walk you through this. I can show you on a map what it looks like. So let's jump over there and I will explain as we go. Okay, so I'm here on the Glacier website for the vehicle reservations. I will put this link in the video description below so that you can get here as well. But first I want to show you what this is actually for. So let's go down to the map. So here's a very crude map of Glacier. There's hardly any details in here, but it will suit its purpose. So where you need these reservations for? It's for the west side of the Going to the Sun Road. So the Going to the Sun Road is this road through the park. It's the one that takes you up into the mountains. It's gorgeous. There's so many beautiful things to see along this road. So if you're wanting to drive this road, most people come in from the west side. So the west side is the side closest to Whitefish and Kalispell out here. A lot of people drive in from these towns into West Glacier and then into the park from this side. If you're going to do that, then you will need one of these entrance reservations because they will be checking for these reservations on the west side of the Going to the Sun Road. The other place they are checking for reservations is the North Fork area of the park, which is up here. This is a more far removed area of the park, but it's really small. There's hardly any parking. It gets overcrowded just because there's so few things to do and the parking lots are really small, but it's absolutely beautiful. We love Bowman Lake, which is this road that kind of goes in here to the lake. You can go up to Kintla Lake, which is up here. But it is a really beautiful area, and you will need a reservation to get into anything up here. Now, historically, in past years, they've also required an entrance reservation into Many Glacier, which is over here on the east side of the park. Many Glacier is where you will find Swift Current Lake, the Grinnell Glacier hike, Iceberg Lake hike, like lots of big hikes, lots of big mountain views, tons of wildlife. It's a super cool part of the park. The reason that they're not requiring an entrance reservation in Mini Glacier for 2025 is because they are doing a huge construction project here, and they are super limiting how many cars can come in. So that is actually going to be a completely different video that I record for people who have purchased my Glacier itinerary at Dirt in My Shoes, because that process, you're actually going to need either like a tour ticket, or you're going to have to go through a really competitive process to get a spot on their hiker shuttle that they will be running into the Mini Glacier area in 2025. So just because they're not requiring entrance reservations in Mini Glacier doesn't mean that you won't have to go through, I think, what's going to be an even more competitive process to get into there in 2025. So keep an eye out for that, or if you want my help with it, go get the Glacier itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes. I'll link it in the video description below, and I will walk you through the whole process for getting in there this year. Okay, so looking at the website again, you'll want to take note that these are the dates this year that you'll need these timed entry reservations to go up the west side of the Going to the Sun Road and the North Fork area. So if you're visiting Glacier during that time, you will need one of these reservations from the hours of 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And you can, we'll talk about this a little later, but you can visit outside of those hours if you're not able to get these reservations. But I do suggest still trying to get these just so you have a little more flexibility. Okay, the other thing I want to point out is these reservation release dates. You are going to want to keep a very close eye on these dates. 120 days in advance, starting on February 12th at 8 a.m. That means you need to be on recreation.gov, which is where you make these reservations, exactly on that date and that time. Okay, so do the math. You need to know what 120 days in advance is of the dates that you'll be going to Glacier. 8 a.m., you need that in your calendar. I cannot stress this enough. They will be gone in maybe minutes, more likely seconds, some of these reservations. And so you have to be there exactly when they open them up. Your other option, if you're not able to get them 120 days in advance, is to do it the night before at 7 p.m. That also is extremely, extremely competitive. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you know exactly when to go to recreation.gov to get your reservations. Now, this also is on a rolling basis. And so if you're going to be in the park multiple days, then you'll need to get on multiple days to get your reservations because it's only a 1-day pass. So if you need a pass for 3 days, then for those 3 days in a row, 120 days in advance of when you're going to the park, you'll need to be online at 8 a.m. getting these reservations. So quite the process. Again, there are ways around this, and this is something that I focus really heavily on with my Glacier itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes, because you don't actually, like, there are ways around needing these. There are ways that you can get into the park, that you can see the things without having to go through this process. And that's something that I will show you, and I will actually show you a walkthrough of getting the reservations on recreation.gov so that you know how to do it step by step, little tips and tricks for giving you a leg up on that process. And that's included with my Glacier itinerary at Dirt in My Shoes as well. Okay, so we've talked about, who needs one, why you need one, what dates you need one, how to get one. Let's talk about this section right here, which is already booked an activity. Maybe you don't need a vehicle reservation. And this is where I feel like it gets really weird and complicated, especially if you've never been to the park before. You're not going to know what you're looking at. It's hard enough for those of us who have been into the park and who are very familiar with the park to make sense of this. So let me walk you through just a few things you're going to want to pay attention to regarding if you've made lodging or camping reservations, if you've made activity reservations, and you're wondering if you need one of these timed entry reservations. Okay, so here's our West Glacier, and as you can see, this is a little bit more detailed, but if you're coming in from Kalispell and Whitefish, you're going to come in this way, and you're going to turn up to get to the west entrance of Glacier. So you'll go through the entrance line, and that's where you're going to pay your entrance fee, which you don't need to do in advance. You can just do that when you get there. And then you keep driving and you'll hit the Apgar area, which has a visitor center, a campground, a picnic area, some hotels and restaurants, things like that. You've got the Fish Creek Campground, which is up and over here on this side of the lake right there. That's pretty close to Apgar. And then where this big star is your checkpoint for these reservations. And so if you're going to come up this way, like if you want to go to the Lake McDonald Lodge and continue on to like the Avalanche Lake Trailhead or anything up the Going to the Sun Road like Logan Pass or anything like that, then you are going to go through this checkpoint where you will need to show them a reservation. So as I mentioned before, you can go in before 7 a.m. or after 3 p.m. They won't be checking reservations at the checkpoint at that time, so that's an option. Or you can visit outside of these dates, June 13th through September 28th. If you go before June 13th or after September 28th, you can get through without needing one. Or you can book something that's happening beyond this checkpoint, like a tour or a lodge reservation or something like that, that will also count as your entrance reservation. But as I mentioned, it gets confusing because if you make a reservation over here before this checkpoint, then it will not count to get you onto the Going to the Sun Road. And so you need to pay really close attention to this because if you book the Fish Creek Campground or the Apgar Campground, or if you're staying in a hotel down in here, you will still need an entrance reservation to get on the Going to the Sun Road from here. Looking down here, so if you click right here, it will push this list down for you and you can see, and this is, I think, incredibly confusing the way that they've set this up, but you can see, so if you're staying in these ones or Rising Sun, which is on the other side of Glacier, it's past Logan Pass on the Going to the Sun Road, so it's still on the Going to the Sun Road, but it's closer to the east side than the west side, so that one doesn't count. They won't let you drive through the Going to the Sun Road from the west over to Rising Sun unless you have an entrance reservation. Your reservation here won't count, which is just, again, very confusing. If you're staying at the Lake McDonald stuff, then it will count. If you're doing one of the chalets, the backcountry chalets, then it will count. So anywhere where it says you can get access past the Apgar checkpoint, that means that you don't need one of these vehicle reservations. Your lodging reservation will count for that. Going down to boat rentals, so you can book a tour on a boat, but it has to be this Lake McDonald location. That's the only one. So if you want to go through the west side checkpoint of the Going to the Sun Road, you have to book the Lake McDonald boat location, not Apgar, because that doesn't count, not St. Mary, that doesn't count, Two Medicine, Mini Glacier, those ones don't count for getting you on the Going to the Sun Road from the west side. So these ones, typically they start outside of the park and then they'll bring you in. So like a red bus tour, you'll pick that up usually at Apgar, and then they'll take you in. You won't need a reservation, but it's just really, really confusing. So again, like for this one, it has to be the Lake McDonald location for this to count. And then we get down into our campgrounds, and again, like very confusing. So Apgar and Fish Creek do not count. You have to get a reservation there to stay there, but it doesn't count for your entrance reservation. It won't get you onto the Going to the Sun Road. Sprague Creek, Avalanche Creek will. Those ones will get you past that Apgar checkpoint, as you can see noted here, because they're on that west side of the Going to the Sun Road. But Rising Sun and St. Mary will not get you past that Apgar checkpoint. They want you to go in the park from the east side where they're not checking reservations. If you have reservations in those ones, they won't let you through the west side unless you go through the process on recreation.gov to get one of these reservations. Okay, so there's all that. Now let's go to North Fork. This one's a little bit simpler just because there's not really anything here. So to get you past the checkpoint for the North Fork reservation, which they will check at this North Fork entrance, you need to be staying in one of these campgrounds. Now, the thing is, these campgrounds are all first come, first serve. So how does that work? So for those first come, first serve campgrounds in the North Fork area, you just need to get there basically first thing in the morning, get to that entrance station. And then the ranger there will tell you if they have availability in any of those campgrounds. And so they are monitoring how many sites are open in the campground. If they have anything available, they'll assign you a site right there at the entrance station, and then they'll let you drive in without your entrance reservation. If you're not planning on camping in this area, but you still want to go in, then you will need one of the entrance reservations that you have to get at recreation.gov. Phew, okay. It's a lot. It's a lot. And for most people, if you're visiting in between the dates that they have set for these reservations, then it does usually make sense just to assume that you need one. There's very few reasons that you won't need one. I will talk you through some ways that you don't need one here in a minute. First, I want to quickly just show you where to make these reservations so that you know how to get started. Okay, so I'm going back to this page here, and I'm going to click on this button to recreation.gov. This will take you directly to the Glacier National Park vehicle reservations. And so you'll come down here. They don't have it set up yet, but when you come in here, then you'll be able to put in your date. They will have some times that you'll need to choose from, and then you'll want to reserve your reservation. Like I said earlier, they open up at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. You need to be here at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. You cannot get these reservations in person. You have to do it online in advance on recreation.gov. So keep that in mind. And again, if you want help navigating this entire process, I can help you with that if you have my Glacier itinerary. This itinerary is an hour-by-hour schedule, and so I will tell you when to be where in Glacier so that you can get parking in the busiest places. But I will also tell you day by day which reservation you need for which time. I will tell you, if you're not able to get the reservation, here's a workaround so you can still make it work. I will just make sure that you have exactly what you need to do that. You'll find this Glacier itinerary at dirtinmyshoes.com. It's a very affordable way to get my help. And again, I will walk you through the whole process on recreation.gov as well, so that you can see exactly what it looks like to get these reservations, what times you're going to want to get them for, which days you're going to need which reservations. And then I will also help you with the many Glacier stuff to make sure that you can get in there to do the activities that you want to do. That Glacier itinerary is linked in the video description below, so go check that out if you want additional help. One more thing before I sign off, let's talk about what to do if you don't get the reservations that you need to get into Glacier National Park. Okay, so the first thing you can do is you can go for those night before reservations that they're going to open up last minute. So if you don't get the ones in advance, the 4 months in advance, then you can go on the night before at 7 p.m. Mountain Time and try again. Through the whole process, you'll go on to recreation.gov, you'll try to get a last minute one. That will do. If you don't want to wait till the last minute, you're not able to get the ones in advance, and you're like, I don't really want to wait until the night before to know if I can get in or not, then again, you can book lodging, camping, activities, anything like that are within those areas that I talked you through earlier. Go ahead and book those now, because those will count to get you into that area of the park. Another option is that Glacier National Park runs a free park shuttle along the Going to the Sun Road, and you don't need a reservation to use that shuttle, and it will get you past those checkpoints without a problem. So the shuttle runs from the Apgar area in West Glacier, so you can pick it up from right there, and it will take you up to Logan Pass, and you can stop along the way at some of the major trailheads. It also will give you the option to transfer at Logan Pass to get to the east side of the Going to the Sun Road down towards St. Mary. So the shuttle does run along that whole road, and that's a good way to get around needing an entrance reservation. I mentioned this before, but if you want to go into the park before 7 a.m. or after 3 p.m., they won't be checking for reservations at those checkpoints during that time. So you can sneak in before they start checking or just go later in the day and still get into the park and be able to see some things. Another option is to just visit the areas that don't require these reservations. And so if you want to get on the Going to the Sun Road, you don't have the reservation from the west side, you can drive over to St. Mary and you can go in the Going to the Sun Road from that side without a reservation. So if you want to get onto the road, go in through St. Mary, you can drive the whole road. If you pass the Apgar checkpoint on the west side, if you go out that way, you cannot come back in if it's during the hours of 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So keep that in mind. But you can drive pretty much everywhere along that road before you even get to that Apgar checkpoint if you go in through the St. Mary side. So that's one option to get on to the Going to the Sun Road. Other areas, Two Medicine is gorgeous. It's a smaller area on the east side that you can get into without a reservation. And then I mentioned earlier Many Glacier, which is also on the east side, but it's very popular, just really cool area of the park. That one's not requiring those entrance reservations, if you recall. It is requiring some different shuttle reservations this year. So that one's going to be a little trickier to get into if you can't get these entrance reservations. I wouldn't say that's a really good option, planning wise, because you're still going to have to deal with making reservations of some type to be able to get in there. Okay, so this video is pretty long. The Glacier reservation system is complex. It's confusing. A lot of people feel overwhelmed by it. I navigate this reservation system all the time and I still am just like, oh my gosh, like it's so confusing and it's really competitive to get these reservations. So hopefully this video was helpful. But again, if you want some additional help from me, I am an expert in making these reservations. I've been doing it a long time. Then go pick up that Glacier itinerary from Dirt in My Shoes. But otherwise, I hope that you're able to get what you need. If you need additional information on Glacier itself, in general, I have trip planning videos. I have a list of things you can't miss. You'll find all of that here on YouTube as well. So be sure to go watch one of those if you want to get excited about your trip to Glacier. And don't forget to get some dirt in your shoes.